in this video, I'm going to try to answer the question, does MCT oil break a fast? And not only that, I'm going to go through some specific fasting goals, like things you might be trying to accomplish, and whether MCT oil would help or hurt with each of those goals, and then some other interesting potential benefits of MCT oil and whatnot. So, and I actually have a blog post that goes into even more detail about this. So if there's anything you're still not clear about after watching this video, check out the link below to the blog post as well. So first of all, what the heck is MCT oil? Medium chain triglyceride. So it means it has some fatty acids that are relatively short, 3 of them because it's a triglyceride, on that glycerol backbone. And here's an image that kind of shows what it looks like, medium chain triglyceride. So where does it come from? So most of it comes from coconut oil and palm oil, basically. So if you eat coconut oil, you kind of get, there's a little bit of an overlap, like it has some of the MCT type oil in it, so to speak. So now, is MCT oil going to interfere with your fasting goals? What are you trying to accomplish by fasting? Well, some of the really common goals, right, are like reducing body fat, fixing or improving blood sugar, insulin, resting the bowels, boosting something like autophagy. So there's a variety of things, and I'm going to go through some of those and talk about each one. So will MCT oil prevent you from reducing body fat while you're fasting or prevent you from weight loss? So as you fast, of course, your body kind of switches into fat burning mode. And if you're consuming something like MCT oil, that's kind of like when people do like the bulletproof coffee, or if you do something like fat fasting where you're still consuming fat. And so the bottom line is it's pretty simple. And that is, if you take a little bit of something like MCT oil during a fast, no big deal. If you take a lot bit of it, then obviously if you have a ton of energy coming in, then you're not really fasting anymore. But there is a little research showing that MCT oil actually helps promote fat loss more than other foods. That's not in the context of fasting per se, but it seems to have some positive benefits as it relates to fat loss. So if you take a little bit just to help get through your fast, probably still can reduce body fat. If you take a lot, then you have too much energy there and you don't need to tap into your own body fat for energy, right? Now, does MCT oil raise blood sugar? No. Basically, any kind of fat doesn't really raise blood sugar. So that's an easy answer. There was a specific study I looked at. I'll link to it in the blog post if you want to look at that, where they showed it didn't raise blood sugar levels, and it actually helped diabetic patients process carbs more efficiently. Again, not in the context of fasting, but it has some potential benefits in general. What about insulin? Does MCT oil spike insulin or interfere with your goal to improve insulin while fasting? Well, basically, no. So it doesn't, MCT oil does not affect fasting insulin levels, and it actually seems to improve insulin sensitivity overall. So what about something like autophagy, that cellular spring cleaning that a lot of people are trying to get during fasting? Well, that one is less clear. Nobody really knows exactly how much different foods and supplements interfere with autophagy. I mean, in small quantities. Obviously, if you're eating a bunch of food, then you're kind of stopping autophagy. But if you're just having these little small quantities of this and that during a fast, are you interfering with autophagy? The answer is probably it's on a spectrum. So if you have a tiny bit of something, you might reduce autophagy a little bit. But if you have like a lot of something, you reduce autophagy a lot bit. So it's on a spectrum. Intuitively, that's what I would say. So basically, if you have a lot of energy coming in, then you're going to stop something like autophagy. Right? Makes sense. What about if you're fasting for bowel rest, of all things? Just kidding. If you're trying to rest your bowels, well, MCT oil doesn't activate all the digestive juices, so to speak, but it still requires some digestion. So you'd be better off staying away from it if that's your main goal with fasting. But overall, big picture, it seems like MCT oil in small quantities is good during a fast, may have some benefits. You don't have to use it, obviously, but it probably actually has some benefits. And speaking of which, the way I would recommend using it would be something like kind of tiding you over at the beginning of a longer fast to help boost your ketone levels before they get high. Or just anytime if you get hungry during a fast and you don't want to break your fast, but you want something to kind of tide you over, then maybe a tablespoon of MCT oil. So 1 or 2 tablespoons a day is kind of a reasonable amount. You could do less, obviously. If you do like a lot more, then you're kind of overdoing it and going too far. So again, check out the blog post below if you want to do a little deeper dive into MCT oil. I explained a bunch of details about that. And speaking of something that boosts ketone levels, which MCT oil does, here's a video where I explained a bunch of surprising benefits of ketones. I think there's 13 of them, 13 surprising benefits of ketones. And here's an interview with Dr. Ken Ford where we talked a lot about the ketogenic diet and the benefits and just a really kind of detailed discussion about ketogenic diet if you're interested in that. He's the host of the STEM Talk podcast. So check those out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.